You have a cheat code. Not a metaphorical statement, not a motivational poster thing, an actual, literal, biological cheat code sitting somewhere inside your DNA right now, and the worst part, you probably don't even know if you have it. Some people do, and the ones who do are basically playing life on easy mode while the rest of us are out here dying of cholesterol. Let me explain. PCSK9, the unkillable heart. The year is 1999. A French research team is studying families with absurdly high cholesterol. We're talking cholesterol so high that people are having heart attacks in their 30s. They're looking for the gene causing the damage. They find PCSK9. It's a gene that tells your liver how many LDL receptors to keep running. LDL receptors are basically the janitors of your bloodstream. They grab bad cholesterol and haul it out. PCSK9 fires the janitors. More PCSK9 activity means fewer receptors, means more cholesterol floating around, means your arteries slowly turn into concrete. So naturally, the scientists assume more PCSK9 equals more heart disease. They're right. But then something weird happens. A woman walks into a Dallas clinic. She's in her 40s. Her cholesterol levels are so low they barely register, not low like she's been eating salad, low like a number that shouldn't be possible in a living adult. The researchers test her DNA. Her PCSK9 gene is broken. Not damaged in a bad way, broken in a very specific, very lucky way that means it produces almost nothing. No PCSK9, maximum janitors, zero bad cholesterol buildup. They find another person, same thing, then another. Turns out roughly 2.6% of Black Americans carry a natural loss of function mutation in PCSK9. Their hearts are essentially immune to the most common cause of death on the planet. No medication, no diet, no intervention. Just a single letter swapped in their genome tens of thousands of years ago that accidentally solved cardiovascular disease. The pharmaceutical industry spent billions trying to recreate this in a pill. Nature did it for free. You are about to experience natural selection. LRP5, bones like concrete. There is a family in Connecticut that cannot break their bones. Not won't, cannot. Researchers first noticed them after a serious car accident. Multiple family members walked away without a single fracture. No breaks, no cracks, nothing. The doctors were confused enough to run genetic testing. What they found was a mutation in the LRP5 gene. LRP5 is involved in a signaling pathway that regulates bone density. In most people it does a fine job. Bones are reasonably solid. You can break them if you try hard enough or fall down the wrong set of stairs. In this family, the mutation cranks LRP5 activity so high that their bones just keep getting denser, and denser, and denser. Their bone density scores are off the chart. We are talking about bones roughly 8 times denser than the average human. Doctors who examined them described their skeletal scans as looking like solid stone. One member of the family reportedly fell off a second-story balcony. He got up and walked away. Now flip this. Most bone diseases, osteoporosis, fractures, skeletal deterioration, they all involve LRP5 not working enough. This family has the opposite problem, or rather, from an evolutionary standpoint, not a problem at all. Scientists are currently studying their genome, trying to develop treatments for osteoporosis based entirely on what this one family's DNA figured out by accident. There are people walking around right now whose skeletons are essentially indestructible. You might be eating calcium supplements, and those people exist. HDAC2, the no-sleep gene. Normal humans need 8 hours of sleep. That is not a suggestion, that is biology. Sleep deprivation degrades memory, immune function, reaction time, emotional regulation. Go without it long enough and you will start hallucinating. Go without it even longer and the situation gets significantly worse. This is just how humans work. Except for the people who carry a mutation in the HDIC2 gene. A mother and daughter in San Francisco came to a sleep research lab in 2009. They both naturally woke up after 6 hours feeling completely rested. Not groggy, not running on caffeine, fully functional every single day. The researchers thought they were lying. They brought them into the lab, monitored them, measured everything. ran cognitive tests after 6 hours of sleep and compared them to people who had slept 8. No difference, actually slightly better. The mutation affects a protein that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. In people with HDEC2, the body compresses sleep more efficiently. They get the same restorative benefit in significantly less time. The math on this is genuinely insane. If you live to 80 and sleep 8 hours a night, you will spend roughly 27 years of your life unconscious. People with the HDEC2 mutation spend about 20. They get 7 extra years of waking life just by existing. 7 years just sitting there in their genome, free. The researchers have since found multiple families carrying variations of this mutation. None of them chose it, none of them trained for it, it was just there. Meanwhile, the rest of us are setting 3 alarms and still feeling terrible. ABCC11, the no-smell gene. You already heard this one if you watched a certain other channel. But it belongs here because it is genuinely one of the most absurd cheat codes in the human genome, and it deserves to be on this list. Roughly 2% of the global population carries a mutation on the ABCC11 gene. This mutation shuts down the proteins in their apocrine sweat glands, the ones responsible for body odor, completely, not reduced, gone. These people do not produce body odor, ever, under any circumstances. They also have dry, flaky earwax instead of the wet, sticky kind. This sounds like a downside until you realize the dry earwax variant is associated with lower breast cancer risk in some studies, which is a sentence that should be way more famous than it is. The mutation is most common in East Asian populations. In parts of Northeast China and Korea, the majority of people carry it. Deodorant sales in these regions are correspondingly tiny, not because people don't care, because most of them simply do not need it. In Japan, body odor was historically considered a medical condition called wakiga. Having it was unusual enough to be notable, because for a large portion of the population it was genuinely rare. You have been buying deodorant your entire life. Some people never will. TET2, the accidental cancer shield. This one is strange. TET2 is a gene that normally helps regulate blood cell production. When it mutates, it can cause certain blood cancers, leukemia specifically. This is bad. TET2 mutations are associated with a condition called clonal hematopoiesis, where mutated blood cells start quietly multiplying and taking over. This is bad. Except, there is a small group of centenarians, people who have lived past 110, supercentenarians. Researchers sequencing their genomes found something unexpected. Many of them also carry TET2 mutations, the same mutations associated with leukemia. But they do not have leukemia. What they appear to have instead is an unusually aggressive immune system. The mutated blood cells seem to function more actively, more efficiently. In the context of their specific genetic background, the mutation that should cause cancer appears to be doing something closer to the opposite. The researchers are still trying to figure out exactly how, but the pattern is consistent enough to be real. There are people alive today who have a mutation that should cause cancer, and instead it may be one of the reasons they have lived longer than almost anyone else on Earth. Biology does not always read the instructions. What this actually means. Here is the uncomfortable part. You carry somewhere between 20,000 and 25,000 protein coding genes. Every single one of them has variants, mutations, some inherited, some brand new, some that have been in your family line for thousands of years, selected for because they helped someone survive something. You do not know which ones you have. You do not know if your PCSK9 is broken in a lucky way. You do not know if your LRP5 is quietly building you bones like a medieval castle. You do not know if your ancestors survived a famine or a plague or a predator because of something that is now sitting silently in every cell of your body. What you do know is that the people around you are all running slightly different versions of the same base code, and some of those versions have features that the rest of the builds simply do not have. The frustrating part is that for most of human history, the only way to find out which cheat codes you had was to survive something that required them. The slightly less frustrating part is that now you can just get your genome sequenced. which is either the most exciting thing that has ever happened to science or the beginning of a very weird conversation with your insurance company. Either way, go find out what you're carrying. Because somewhere in your DNA, something survived something. And it brought the receipt.